Welcome to Kart Class, brought to you by 18 times Australian champion David Serra. Kart Class strives to give kart racing drivers the fundamental driving skills, kart setup, and the mindset required to take you from beginner to winner. Your host, David Serra, has over 25 years' experience in kart racing and is the most successful driver in Australian history.
G'day guys, and welcome back to another episode of our Kart Class podcast. I'm your host, 18 times Australian champion David Serra, and today's discussion is going to be all about the benefits of having a coach. So I've been fortunate enough over the last 10 years to step aside from basically full-time racing and step into the coaching business. And one of the best things I'd say about coaching is just the rewards you get from seeing some of the drivers that you do coach achieving their personal bests. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a race win. It might mean they go to the racetrack and they set a personal best lap time, or they just overcome some of their fears, whether that's a race start, it could be overtaking another competitor, or it might even just be the wet weather. And so when we're talking about the benefits of having a coach, probably the number one thing is learning from someone else's experience. So for myself, when I'm coaching kids, from the age brackets of say 7 all the way up, for ages 25 to 30 years of age, these guys and girls who are learning their kart racing skills, they may have only been in the sport for maybe 1 or 2 months. Some may have been in the sport for 2 or 3 years. But the big thing is they're trying to tap into my 25 years of knowledge, whether that's from a racecraft point of view, whether that's from a driving techniques point of view, or it could even just be a kart setup. So they're trying to extract the information that I've put my blood, sweat and tears into and have had to learn from many mistakes over the years. And they're trying to basically fast track their own knowledge so they can get up to speed a lot faster. So that's one of the real benefits of having a coach, is trying to learn off someone else's experiences. And it doesn't always have to be the good experiences, because you can learn off other people's bad experiences as well. Whether that means that they tried a certain tire pressure for a track or a certain sprocket gear ratio, and it didn't work for that particular coach, that when they go and help you at that same circuit, you know not to start at that position, because previously it didn't work. The next thing we want to look into with having a coach, and the reason why they are beneficial, is because sometimes a lot of people, they listen more to an external person. And so many times I've coached drivers of all different ages, they just don't listen to their mum or dad. And I was pretty good at listening to my dad, but I had a better relationship, or at least a listening relationship, with my cousin James. I still remember my dad racing, but it's like, what does dad know? But he would be giving me the same messages of what my cousin James was, but I would latch on to James's words. And this happens all the time. So when I'm at the track coaching kids, parents might say, you're braking too early. And the kid's like, what do you know, Dad? You've never raced, But the thing is, your parents can see where the other kids are braking, and they can see that that's an area that you're lacking in. And then all I have to go and do sometimes is literally go and pass on that same message. And the kids go, oh, okay, I'm making a little mistake there. So straight away, because I've got the experience, I've got the race wins on the board, and it's an external person, it's a lot less chance of a younger driver talking back, where if it's mum or dad, they could get a little bit aggro. And then once kids are starting to get a bit aggro, or even drivers in teenage or their early 20s, they're not going to listen as much as well to their parents. So having that external person, I found very, very beneficial for myself, and seeing even some of the kids that I've coached before. I actually remember coaching Jack Doohan, son of 5-time world MotoGP champion Mick Doohan. And he's like, honestly, Jack just doesn't listen to me. He goes, you can tell him what you want to tell him, or you can tell him exactly what I have explained to him, but he just doesn't listen to Dad. And I sort of felt bad. I said, Mick, what am I going to tell your son that you don't know? And he's like, no, exactly. He goes, he just doesn't listen. So that's a perfect example where, Mick Doohan's got plenty of knowledge, not just from motorcycle racing, but just in general racing knowledge and cornering and things like that. And yet his son, being, I think he was maybe around, I'm only guessing 10 or 11 years of age at the time, in cadets, he just didn't want to have a bar of what Dad was saying. So having that external person can really help a driver out. The other thing with having a coach is they can see positive and weaknesses while you're driving on the track. So if I go to the track right now and I'm racing myself, I can analyse a couple of competitors on the track whilst I'm on the track at the same time. I can look over my shoulder, or I can see some karts in front of me, I can sort of get a sense on whether I'm catching or I'm losing in certain corners, but that's with a lot of experience. But if you're just a newcomer and you're going to the track yourself, sometimes you can't see what's happening on the other side of the track or what's happening behind you, whether you're defending too much. So by having that coach there or that support person, they can start to see some of the mistakes that you're making, but also some of the really good things that you're doing, and trying to pass on that message after a session saying, Dave, you're doing a great job in turn one. Like, that's where you're really always gaining half a car on your competition. Because when I'm driving, I might not actually realize. I might think, I can do it a little bit better. But it's having that person from the sidelines, they're analysing for you as well. So you've got a job to drive quite fast, but they've got a job to basically look out for you and to try and pinpoint those spots where you could be lacking. And that's what I've sort of found when I've coached a couple of drivers. I'm trying to basically analyse everything that's happening around them, and I'm just trying to get those drivers to concentrate on their particular, markers, accelerating markers, overtaking opportunities, race starts, and things like that. So they're the reasons why I would say there's the benefits of having a coach. Now, I do realise as well that having a coach or having that extra support person does come at an expense to a lot of people. And that's it. That's the thing. It's like, well, if I'm going to spend $10,000 or $20,000 or $30,000 a year on kart racing and traveling and time off of school and time off of work and doing it alone and not getting those improvements, if I go and invest an extra, let's say $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on getting a coach, that person who can actually progress myself or my driver, then is that money well spent? Well, yeah. So just knowing about where you are, if you're stuck in a bit of a plateau, then it might be worthwhile to look for that external person to come in and provide some of their knowledge, their experience to help you out. And, like I said, I've just had a lot of joy from coaching motor racing drivers and kart racing drivers as well over the last 10 years as well. So big thanks for listening to another episode of our Kart Class podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then obviously please click subscribe and leave us a review if you can. And if there's any questions that you've got, whether it's for your kart racing needs or about our Kart Class programs, then just shoot us through an email at info@kartclass.com and I'll be happy to help you out. I'm your host, 18-time Australian champion David Serra. Thanks so much for tuning in.
If you've enjoyed today's episode and want to learn more about your kart racing, be sure to check out kartclass.com.au for driving courses catered to all skill levels.